Hello and welcome back. Episode 3 of DAiLY. I am Danny, and this is the show where we cover AI for the everyday human being, or the everyday person. Daily AI, daily AI. Today we're going to talk about a very specific use case that I experienced myself in trying to create a form, like a photography booking form for my website. And I used two AIs together, or I guess together. And this, I think, is a great example for you listening to this or watching this. As always, you can watch along on YouTube and on Spotify. Essentially, what I was trying to do is I was trying to build a form so that people could book me to take photos of their like hockey games. So for a little bit of context, I play in a men's league, like a beer league hockey thing, and I see that there's a ton of high schools and like youth camps, and parents always need photos of their kids playing sports. And even in the adult league too, there have been some mentions of like, oh, it'd be nice. I don't have any photos of me playing and stuff. I have a photography background. I haven't really been working as a photographer for a long time, so I thought, well, I've done sports photography before, and I see a large amount of potential clients, here. I'm familiar with the rinks, where I live, and so I think it'd be great if I could set up a form where a potential client could fill it out with the relevant information, and then I would then get an email with all of their recorded information, so I know which player it is that I'm supposed to photograph, their number, their team name, and of course the game date and time and location and all that stuff. That way you can eliminate back and forth. I don't necessarily want people like DMing me and saying oh, little Timmy has a game, whatever. It's like, just because some emails, as I mentioned, I've done this stuff in the past, and sometimes you get emails that are like all sorts of crazy, all fucking over the place. So it's just going to be easier if I had this this form. And I thought for this series that this would be a great episode in showing this was both a success and a failure, and we'll get into why it was a failure along in the episode. But with all of that being said, I think we're ready to go. And as always, we have our co-host, Nova, with us. And if you were here for the last episode, Nova was in the middle of talking, and then I ran out of, I guess there's like an advanced mode, and I ran out of time on that. So we will avoid that on this episode. And I'm also going to try to not stumble over as many words as I did last week, but no promises. So this is what happened, and this is really, really interesting and really cool. I think that this could apply for anybody, and I have a lot of examples, and I've saved a lot of the conversation that I had with working with ChatGPT. And I'm going to show some of the like back and forth. I do have to be careful because I think my email is shown in a couple of these things. But let's first start off with what it is that I was looking for exactly. And I'm going to show you here. I'm going to go to this other app here. And by the way, I should mention that I'm not sponsored by anybody. So the things that I'm talking about, it's not like I'm being paid to show them to you or to talk about them. It's just what I've been using in the meantime as I'm learning. So here we go. You should now be able to see, if you're watching, you should be able to see a screen with a bunch of stuff on it. That's very helpful for those who are not watching, those who are listening. My apologies as I take a sip of water. This whole talking for 30 minutes thing is it's proving to be difficult on my voice. Okay, so let me hide ChatGPT for a moment. And this website that I'm in is called Lovable. So Lovable, that's lovable.ai, I believe is the website. It's AI that will help build websites for you, or I guess with you. Now, one thing that I want to make very clear, it's free. There are, of course, paid versions of Lovable. Um, the free version, your projects are public, and other users are able to remix them. Which I haven't remixed anything, but I am assuming that means that they could download your project and then make changes, or iterate off of what you've already set up. So if you're going to use Lovable, just be careful as to, if you're trying to make something that you're then going to sell, just be careful is all I'm going to say on that. So inside of Lovable, we have on the left here, you can see this is like a whole chat log, and it's very similar to ChatGPT, or really any sort of large language model. You can see I put a prompt in that said, create a photography booking form that includes the following fields: player name, jersey number, team name, email address, game date, game start time, and game location. And as we mentioned in our previous episode about prompting, it's helpful to give it rules or restrictions. I gave it a task, right? Please create a form. That's what it's going to make. And then gave it a little bit of context. It's a photography booking form. And then I specifically said, this is what these are the fields that I need inside of this form. And then Lovable, I like how it shows. It worked for a minute, and it said, I'll create a beautiful photography booking form for sports team photography. This will be a professional looking form with modern design elements and smooth animations and a clean layout that captures the essence of sports photography. And, well, it did. It literally, in a minute or so, maybe a little bit more, it created a form. And on the first go around, it gave me the computer returned with an error, and it said, this is not, something is wrong. And there's a little button that says click, try to fix this. And then, so it did that for the code present. I get the error below. Please think step by step in order to resolve it. I didn't type that. I just clicked the little fix it button, and then Lovable itself does it. It's really cool. Lovable then worked for 33 seconds. And this is interesting. It thought for 20 seconds. So it went through, it worked, and then it thought about the errors that it found. And, oh, look at this. I can see that there's an error with the background. This whole thing is, and I don't know what any of this JSX syntax, I don't know what that means. Maybe you do. You can let me know in the comments. In the end, I was able to create this form with Lovable in like 5 minutes, maybe. And if you're just listening, it's, it kind of has that, it's like it's a big square, then it has, on the left, player name, and then there's another column on the right, jersey number. I mean, a really clean, professional looking form with all the fields that I needed, no typos, no like weird, kind of generative AI looking. And each of the fields in the form, they work. Like you could, type, what you want. It even has like a little calendar drop-down menu, which is really nice. Or when you click on the time, it'll show you like, all the different numbers. So you could either type in the time, or you can select it from this like wheel. You could scroll. So that's pretty cool. Didn't tell it to do that, but it did it. So this is the first version. And I thought, okay, this is great. However, as we mentioned, Lovable is it's like public, right? So technically, anybody can use this. They could download this and use this form, which I don't care. They can do whatever they want with this form. However, I already have a website, right? I already have my portfolio website that I want to use, and it wouldn't really make sense for me to then, like, I would have to tell people to go to, like lovable.dev. It would just be a little bit confusing, whereas it's much easier to just say, go to dannyleclaire.com/photo booking or whatever. Like, that's clean and simple. I can put that on, I can make a QR code, I could put that on a business card, I could do whatever I want with that. Much easier. This is now where Chat GPT comes into play. So the website, this form, everything looks great. And now what I need to do is I need to bring this in, and I can't just like copy and paste it, right? Because it doesn't really work like that. So I asked ChatGPT, and this is my direct prompt. Hello, I am thinking of creating a booking form so clients can book me to do photography. Can you help me set that up? Admittedly, not that great of a prompt based off of what we discussed last week. And ChatGPT, it did it. It returned all the code that we needed, like pretty quickly, which is, again, it's just amazing how, how fast these computers work. And actually, here, I'll show you. I'm gonna if I can. I'm gonna try to scroll. There's a lot of stuff in here. The little scrolly. It's hard to get the cursor there. There we go. So scrolling. Oh wait, this is the wrong chat, huh? Uh-oh. Let me go out into this other one here. Okay, photography booking form setup. So I'm showing, which I don't know if I'm supposed to be showing the code or not, but it's generating code for me. So it's not just that ChatGPT can do images, but it can also generate code that really works. And now I'm sure somebody watching this who understands software engineering or like who knows how to code is like, dude, I could have made a form in like, 10 minutes or whatever. And that's great, but I personally don't know how to do that. So I have an idea, and I'm going to use AI to accomplish said idea. So let me go back to this chat here. I like to have different chats for different, different topics. Try to keep things a little organized for me. Okay. This is arguably the coolest part of this whole story. So in the initial code that ChatGPT brought back, it was very basic, and it didn't look like the one from Lovable. So I took a screenshot of the Lovable one and sent that to ChatGPT and said, can you adjust the code to make this look like this form that I've already made? And then it did it, which is really, really interesting. So let's actually bring in Nova now, and let's see what Nova thinks, or the thought process that went behind in working with the prompts that I'd given it. I gotta let it load for a second. Hi, Nova. So I am explaining how we work together to create the fillable form, and I was interested in learning more. When I sent you the screenshot of the form example, how did you know to adjust the code to match that style?
Great question. Danny, when you sent me the screenshot of the form example, I was able to analyze the key elements that made it effective. Things like field organization. The layout was clear, grouped logically, like team name, date, and contact info, which helped me suggest a similar structure for your form. Simple and accessible style. It was straightforward, but looked polished, so I kept that in mind when suggesting the fields for your booking form. Consistency. The use of dropdowns and placeholder text to avoid errors and guide the user helped me make sure the form was easy to navigate without overwhelming the client. From there, I just adjusted the recommendations to match your business needs, like including a payment note at the bottom and ensuring everything flowed logically from one field to the next. I also made sure to give you flexibility for things you hadn't decided yet, like location or specific team names. So Every step I took was based on matching the user-friendly, organized feel of your example while making sure it worked for what you wanted to achieve. Does that make sense?
That's perfect. And thank you so much for the explanation. I think it's really cool how I am able to send you a screenshot and you're able to analyze it and then produce code that matches the example. It's really fascinating.
I'm glad you found it helpful, Danny. It's honestly pretty exciting to be able to work together like this. AI's ability to analyze visual inputs and offer tailored solutions is one of the coolest things about this process. It's like having an intelligent assistant that can not only read text, but also understand design, structure, and intent from an image. That collaboration, where you share your vision and I help make it happen, is exactly how AI can make real-world tasks faster and more accessible. You're really unlocking its potential with hands-on examples like this. I'm excited to see how the rest of the project and episodes unfold. If you need any more support, just let me know.
It is kind of weird when it says my name, but so I just sent it a screenshot and said, make this. So an AI made the first version, and then another AI is iterating on top of that, but it's not just iterating, like it's not just generating a picture, it's generating code to match an example, to match a picture. That's fucking nuts, and it's so cool. It's so cool. So on my screen now, I have the form that's now in my website. That's now live in my website. And it's pretty much the exact same thing. I mean, all the fields are the same. It has the same emojis, the same like little book button thing. And it's all done through custom code that ChatGPT produced. It's nuts. And so this is kind of one step, right? So that's the first, is just getting it in to the website. But then there's another step as to, okay, what happens when somebody actually fills out a form? And one of the first issues, so there were a few issues that I had in this process, but one of the first ones is that Squarespace, and I have a fucking bone to pick with Squarespace. One of them, they used to have a booking, or excuse me, they do have a booking feature on Squarespace, but you have to pay for it. It's like a monthly fucking thing, and it's like $16 a month. I'm already paying for the Squarespace site. I don't want to pay for more of it. So I was like, all right, I don't want to, I'm not paying for the whole thing. Let's set it up with code, do it for free, yada, yada, yada. So ChatGPT recommended that the form, when a submission is created, when somebody books a session, it's now, my form is using a site called FormSpree. So all of the data that's collected goes to FormSpree. And, oh, here, let me actually do this here before I, that way I don't accidentally reveal any personal information here. FormSpree. Okay, custom, and this is, I've never heard of this website, but ChatGPT recommended it. Oh, shit, let's see, now I gotta sign in. Oh, God. As, again, very high production show here as I'm doing this on the fly. Hopefully I remember my password. I did. Let's fucking go. All right, let's go back to our on the main here. Yep. All right. So in FormSpree, you can see hockey photos, sign up, and it has all the information that when somebody submits a form, this is where it goes. I get an email saying you have a new submission, and then all the information is laid out: email, game date, testing, all that fun stuff. So now we have the actual form is set up, right? And then the style matches what I want it to look like. This is where the bulk of the issues starts. So, and maybe actually, let's see if Nova can explain a lot of the issues that we had. Okay, Nova, so I have introduced the issues that we ran into with the Google Sheet and app scripts. Do you want to give a high-level overview of some of the errors that we ran into while trying to implement a Google Sheet function?
Absolutely. So, when we started working with Google Sheets and app scripts to automate the form data, we ran into a few bumps along the way. 1. Data validation issues. One of the main things was ensuring that the data entered into the form was accurate and consistent. When the form submissions didn't line up with what we expected, like text instead of numbers or missing fields, it caused errors in how the sheet processed the info. We had to adjust our script to account for this by setting up better validation rules. 2. Formula conflicts. Some of the formulas we had in place to auto-calculate times or check for availability didn't always sync up with the new data being added. That meant some of the fields didn't populate correctly, and we had to rewrite certain formula sections to keep everything running smoothly. 3. Permissions and triggers. Another hiccup was figuring out how to set up the automatic triggers for the script. Since app scripts require the right permissions to access and modify the sheet, we had to troubleshoot the triggers, which sometimes failed to run due to insufficient access rights or conflicting permissions. 4. Rate limits and quotas. Google has certain limits on how many times a script can run within a given time, and we ran into some issues when testing the system. We had to tweak how often certain functions were triggered to avoid hitting those limits. While these were a few challenges we faced, each time we worked together to identify the issue, test a few different approaches, and ultimately find a solution. It was all part of the process, and the beauty of using AI was how quickly we could brainstorm different ways to overcome these hurdles. Does that capture the main issues we encountered?
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Danny. I'm glad the explanation was helpful. It's awesome how you're tackling these challenges head on with AI, and I'm excited for the listeners to hear the process. If you need any more input or support for future episodes, just let me know.
So, she had a little issue there at the start. I don't know what that. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to show here on my screen on some of the chat logs that we had. I mean, it's just incredible to see. I mean, it's showing, so I'm saying, hey, okay, this didn't work. Could you verify that this, like the Google Sheet is working properly? And it's troubleshooting its own code. Now, keep in mind, this is code that ChatGPT made from a picture that I sent to it from another AI that made code to make a form. Like, it's nuts. It's so cool. Basically, I'm not going to go through this document, by the way, 70 pages of back and forth and like a lot of fucking script and coding and shit. And like, essentially what I was trying to do, and this is kind of where the limitation of ChatGPT and some of these AI comes about. I wanted to set up this, to have the form submissions go just through Google into a Google Sheet, because I already have Gmail, and then it's also free, right? Google Sheet is free, whereas this Form Spree site, there's a limit. I think you get like 50 submissions a month. Not that my photography business is going to come close to the 50 a month, but there's no limit in Google Sheets. So ChatGPT recommended, why don't we try to do that? And we ran through a whole host of issues, as Nova mentioned. A lot of it had to do with permissions, and a lot of the issues that we ran into could have been described or could have been thought of earlier, before we even got, before I spent an hour or more doing this. It would have been nice for ChatGPT to say, hey, actually, Form Spree is going to be the only way to do this freely, because Google has these specific security protocols, and so does Squarespace, so you really can't do it that way. And again, here's my fight to pick with Squarespace. I've been a customer since 2016. But I've been a customer since 2016, and I pay, what I thought I was paying $25 a year for the site. I actually pay $136 a year for the personal plan. And I don't get the code injection feature, which would have been a workaround for some of the issues that I had. So what am I paying $136 for? Huh? Bitch ass Squarespace. Well, there goes that sponsorship if we ever get a sponsor for the show. But no, I mean, it's just kind of dumb. Like, I pay all this money every year. Maybe the $25 a month is for like maintenance or something. I thought it was $25 a month. I didn't think I was still paying $100 a year. Shit. So after testing and trying all this stuff, ChatGPT recommended that it would be better to just go back and use the form spree submission method, to not even worry about the Google Sheet app script and all that stuff, because it just would be better. I mean, it did it the first time, and I know if you're looking at it, it's very boring. It's like a black screen, and I got to go in here and still add some more like pictures and make it more fun. But the basic first hurdle is done, is the form. So this, I mean, literally it saved hours. It still took me an hour or more, but it would have taken me a lot longer to learn how to code, to then make a form and then put that form into Squarespace and then link the form to the fucking form spree. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. It just did it for me. And let's see, what I was curious to know too, and this will be a question for Nova, but does the AI, does it actually learn from what we did? Will it learn for other people? So let's ask Nova. Okay, Nova, so now that we have learned about Google's security protocols and how it won't work with forms, will you use this knowledge in the future for my projects and other projects with other users, or does the lessons we learned here only stay with us?
Great question, Danny. The lessons we learned here are specific to your project, meaning they won't automatically carry over to other projects or users. But the cool thing is, the process of problem solving we went through together, like troubleshooting security protocols, setting up Google Sheets, and dealing with app script issues, is a foundational approach that I'll always apply when helping you with future projects. For other users, I wouldn't automatically use the knowledge from your specific project unless they're facing the same problem. Each project is unique, so I'll analyze and adapt to the particular needs of each new task. But don't worry, when similar challenges come up in the future, I'll be sure to remember the process and solutions we discussed, so I can help troubleshoot faster. In short, your project taught me valuable insights, but they stay with you for now. However, the approach and problem-solving strategies we use will be applied in the future as we continue to build. Does that make sense?
That's perfect. Then thank you very much.
You're welcome, Danny. I'm glad it all made sense. If you have any more questions or need help with future projects, I'm always here. Let's keep making amazing things together.
All right. I don't know what is going on with the... it's making some weird noises today, but yeah. I was curious to know if it would take the information that it gathered from my instance and then apply that to other users in the future, but it kind of sounds like yes and no, because a lot of the data that we're giving to ChatGPT is, it's all learning. It's learning from you. It's learning from me. Learns from everybody. So that's going to do it for this episode. That was the story, was, trying to create a form with AI. And in the end, I was able to do it. I was able to get the code and pasted it. So I'd be curious to know what you use AI for in your own life, in making, whether it's a website form like mine, or, say you set up something that's like a daily reminder or something. I don't know. You can do whatever you want. I'm interested to learn more from you as we learn about AI together. And you can follow along or follow the show on Instagram, or you could send me, if you have questions or want to learn more. That is DAiLY_AI podcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Next episode, we'll talk about how to use AI in more of a creative process. So like doing things, like videos and photos, and I'll kind of go through the process that I use to generate thumbnails and like art for the show, which I know some people are a fan of and some people aren't a fan of, and we're going to get into all of it. And I'm also going to show some creators who are currently using AI that I think would be very helpful to learn from. And you know what? Fuck it. While we're still here, why don't let's just try one last thing. Okay, Nova, as we wrap up the episode, do you want to tell the listeners a joke to end the episode today?
Absolutely. Here's a fun one to wrap things up. Why did the AI break up with its algorithm? Because it couldn't find a common denominator. Thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, stay curious, keep experimenting, and don't be afraid to ask AI a few questions. You never know what it might help you create next. How's that for a fun send-off?
That was great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Danny. I'm glad you liked it. It's been fun working through these episodes with you. If you need anything else, you know where to find me.
I'm nice to it so that when the Terminators take over, it'll remember. This one was nice. Remember that this guy was nice. He let me tell my jokes, and he always said thank you. Okay, everybody, that's gonna do it for me here. I will see you all in the near future. Bye.